skies of green, red roses too. I see them bloom for me and you, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. I see skies of blue and clouds of white, the bright blessed day, the dark sacred night, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world.
Hello, and welcome to the Quiet Happiness Knits Craftcast, podcast, vlog, whatever this is. And my name is Emily. I'm coming to you from the state of Maine, and I get to be outside today. It's actually the middle of the afternoon, but it was super cloudy today, which is perfect for filming a video out in the yard. And this is a YouTube channel where I talk all about my knitting, my love of yarn and wool. Occasionally I add some other crafts in there. Not today, but I have plans that we'll talk about. So yeah, welcome to my yard in Maine. I have a little garden going this year. I had a little small garden last year as well. And so I thought I would sit in front of it just for fun. I did try to sit so you can see the marigolds behind me, but then I'm just kind of blocking my little cucumber trellis deal that I have going on. So this here in my garden, I have cucumbers. Some of my seedlings didn't do too well, so don't have a whole lot for cucumbers. And then I have some grape tomatoes in those cages, and then I have marigolds, sunflowers behind there, some other flowers. The farm that I bought seedlings from had these flower seedlings called portulacas, and I got them last year. I don't know anything about them, but they were really pretty and colorful, so I got some more. They tend to open up more when it's hot, so you can't really see them today. Yeah, that's basically what I've got going. So I'm hoping that you can hear the birds chirping. But you will most likely also be hearing some vehicles. No matter where I go in my yard, you're going to hear the vehicles on the road because we're really not that far back from the road. So it is what it is. So yes, okay, it's my first outside podcast of the year, so that's exciting. So I have not completed a whole lot of projects since last week. One of the shawls that I was working on last week, the Half Moon Oracle shawl, that had 3 different colors in it, I did end up frogging that one this week. I was about halfway through and realized I just wasn't going to have enough yarn, and I wanted the needles for something else. So, I frogged it. I hadn't really been working on it a whole lot anyway, so I wasn't too worked up about it. So, yeah, so I need to find something else to use my koi goo yarn for. I'm sure I'll find something. I may do like some color work socks or something like that. We'll see. Got options. But I did finish the other shawl that I talked about, which was the Broad Turn Hap by Beatrice Parendalin from the book Maine Knits, which is now, you can get the patterns on Ravelry. I haven't blocked it yet, so the lace hasn't quite opened up yet. So I used yarn from Skinny Flying Sheep. It's a 100% Blueface Leicester yarn, and it is rather large. I'm anticipating it probably will grow a bit with blocking. So it's a triangle shawl construction, and then you go and pick up the lace edging. Now the pattern originally has a different color for the lace, and then you come back to your main color for like a few rows of garter stitch and then a picot bind off, which took absolutely forever. I don't even remember how many stitches you have to bind off, but it's a lot, but I did it. So yes, this is how, like, I typically will wear shawls like this, kind of like a scarf. Set up a little bit so you can see. So this is, I don't know how often I'll wear this one in this way because it is so massive. Probably more for warmth than like something I would wear all day long. But part of the hap style is to have something where you can wrap all the way around. I can't quite, maybe I can. The ends meet just enough so that I can tie them together in the back and then wear it like this, then it will stay in place and still cover your arms. Because sometimes, even like a two skein, normally a two skein triangular shawl isn't quite large enough to do that with. But this one, it works. I have never made like a more traditional hap pattern. I've looked at them, just a lot of knitting for something that's not a sweater, so I may not wear it as often. So I have not committed to that yet. And this was the larger size. The pattern does have a small, I believe like a small and a large. But the only photos in the book, I believe, are of the large size, so I don't really know how big smaller size is. I don't know if somebody in Ravelry has done it or not. But I had plenty of yarn. And then I put the leftover yarn that I did have. I'm doing like I don't have it out with me because it's massive, but I'm doing a granny stripe blanket with fingering weight yarn held double. And I'm kind of trying to stay within certain color schemes and kind of have it blend together a little bit. So this was a good color for the next section that I had in my blanket. So I used up my leftover yarn already. The other project that I finished are my pine needle socks by Natasha of Northern Knits and Purl. I had started these last time. The pattern is, it's kind of like you hold floats in the front of your work, and then you for a few rounds, and then you catch them with a knitted stitch to create kind of these little, I don't know, I guess they're pine needle socks, so they are kind of like pine needles, but make these little peaks in the stitch pattern. And the yarn, I don't think I have the tag out here with me, but it is Explorer Knits in, I'm blanking on the colorway now, Yosemite maybe? I'm blanking because I have another project that I'm also using her yarn for. Yes, I believe this is her Yosemite National Park. I was getting the colors confused in my head. So this is the first time I've used Explorer Knits yarn, and it is beautiful. And this colorway is primarily greens and grays, but there are some flecks of some kind of like orangey brown throughout. And now I bought this in a D-stash, and the project I'm going to talk about later that's also using Explorer Knits yarn, I also purchased in a D-stash. Which I found is a really great way to maybe find yarn that can be harder to get a hold of, or if it's a new to you yarn and you just want to try it out. D-stashes are really nice. I have managed to get a couple of her sock sets that were available around Christmas time, but mostly for some dyers like Explorer Knits that are really popular and their shop updates go really fast. D-stashes are a really great way to get yarn, and sometimes that's on Ravelry, but a lot of people also do D-stashes on Instagram. So you can just kind of keep your eye out when people post about D-stashes or share them or whatever. So those are the only two things that I have finished. And I did also finish the cropped sweater that I showed last time. Forgot to bring it out with me because I thought I was mostly done last time, so I didn't bother to put it in my basket to bring out. But I did kind of finish. I think I was almost done that one. But I blocked it, so it's officially done now. So while we're talking about socks, I might as well talk about my next sock project. These are some toe-up socks. I'm not knitting from a pattern. I'm just doing the blueberry waffle stitch pattern. I think it's a free pattern on Ravelry. But I think the pattern is written like for DK weight or something. But it's basically you do 2 rounds of a 2x2 rib and then 2 rounds of just plain stockinette, 2 rounds of 2x2 rib, 2 rounds of stockinette to create this kind of waffle texture. And I really like doing it because it doesn't pull in as much as a ribbing. So they look nicer when they're folded or whatever. But yeah, it doesn't contract as much as a regular ribbing, but they are still very, very stretchy. So I am knitting these out of a sock set from Legacy Fiber Arts. And I think they may still have some, but for a while they were doing these micro sock sets where you'd get 50 grams of a main color and then 20 grams of a contrast color, which is really great if you're doing a colorwork sock or contrasting heels, cuffs, and toes. And I know that I don't usually use a full 100 gram skein of fingering weight yarn in a pair of socks, so it's a fun option to be able to get some indie dyed yarn, but it's at a lower price point because it's only 50 grams of the fingering weight instead of 100 grams. So, but I wanted to make sure that these socks would be exactly the same size. And when I'm not totally sure about yardage, I like to do my socks toe up. I normally knit socks cuff down on 9-inch circulars is my go-to. And DPNs are my next, if I don't have 9-inch circulars, or if I don't want to use them, then I use double pointed needles. That's how I learned how to knit in the round. So I don't typically do magic loop, but I do if I'm knitting 2 at a time. So this is my method for maximizing yardage or making sure that if I'm not sure I have enough yarn. I like to do toe up 2 at a time. So I split all of the yarn. I split the main color and the contrast colors into 2 even balls of yarn, and then I'm just knitting them 2 at a time so that when I run out of yarn on one, I run out of yarn on the other. Now I will most likely have plenty of yarn to make a normal sized sock, because I will often, especially if I'm using a contrast color, I will often have 40 to 50 grams left over. So I'm pretty confident I'll have enough, but just in case. Now and part of why I don't always do toe-up socks is that I'm not always entirely confident on where to place the heel, because when I do top down, I typically do a heel flap and gusset, and then I can just try it on, and then I know where I need to start decreasing for the toe based on where it hits on my foot. And for whatever reason, I never feel like I quite get the heel placement right in toe up, even if I'm doing an afterthought. Sometimes it's just not quite in the right place. But I'm planning on doing some sort of short row heel, whether it's like a fish lips kiss heel or a German short row. Not totally sure. But I'm going to do a short row heel, so we'll see how it goes. If you have any tips for how to measure your socks to make sure they're in the right place for a heel, let me know. Because I need advice for that. Something else that I have started since last time is a scarf. Haven't made a ton of progress on this, haven't worked on it for a little while. So this is another pattern from the Little Women Knits book. The sweater that I showed in my last video was from this book. And so the scarf pattern is called We Are Not Strangers, We Are Neighbors by Joanna Johnson. And it's a reversible scarf that has a garter stitch border, so you start out in garter stitch and then keep a garter stitch border along the outside, and then you have this reversible rib pattern. The yarn I am using is 6 and 7 fiber in her DK weight base in the Plumfield colorway. And this is not the original, it's one of her Little Women colors. It's not the color that was used in the sample, but it's a purple that I absolutely love. It's one of my favorite kinds of purples. So, and I did buy it with the intention to make this scarf. I started this one. I was kind of in between projects. I was waiting for yarn for the next project I'm going to talk about, and I was waiting for a knit along to start for another project. So I kind of needed just an easy project to work on. So that's why I haven't made a ton of progress on it, because my yarn arrived and I could start something else. But I'm excited to have it to wear this fall. So that is the scarf that's a little bit on hold right now. So the project that I was waiting for yarn to arrive for is a baby blanket. My cousin is having a baby this fall, so I wanted to knit something because that's what you do. So the pattern is called Cuddle. It is by Claire Walls, and it was published under Making Stories. And it's available both on their website and on Ravelry. I bought it from their website. The yarn is Knit Picks Brava worsted, which is a 100% acrylic yarn, which I just like to use for baby projects, for gift knits, because it's washable, it's durable. I want it to last forever without coming upon any washing machine accidents. And this is a blanket. You start it out like a triangular shawl. You do increases to make an initial triangle, and then you do increases along the center spine, decreases along the outside to keep it in a rectangle shape. And then you create the rectangle for the rest of it, and then it'll end with a flat border on the bottom as well. So it uses 3 colors. So far I've used 2. And this blue is the colorway, do they have colors? Denim. And then the green is Dublin. And then I will have I believe this is called Silver, as a gray for the 3rd color. So this basically has repeating sections of garter stitch, and then you do some 2-color slip stitches, and then garter stitch again, and then it will be a slip stitch section with the green and the gray, and then the gray garter stitch. So it's just a super cute, super fun baby pattern. And I originally discovered this because Emma of Bloom and Create was making one for her sister who recently had a baby. And once I saw it, and I really loved the pattern when Emma was working on it. So then when I wanted to make a blanket for my cousin, this was the pattern that I thought of. Because like with scarves, I don't always enjoy knitting blankets. I like scrappy blankets, but those are not things that I'm normally have a deadline for. I just pick them up, work on them for a while, and then put them away for a few months, and it's fine. But sometimes I find with blankets, it's just doing the same thing over and over again in every row is really, I don't always find that super exciting, especially because they're typically longer rows because it's a big project. So that's why I was really excited to work on this one, because it's got multiple colors and some different sections and stitch patterns that you're doing to just help keep it interesting as you work on it. So now that the yarn has arrived, I can finish this. The baby's not due until October, so I've got plenty of time. But again, blankets can take a while, and also they live in Canada, and sometimes it takes a week for things to get sent. Sometimes it takes a month. So I want to make sure I have plenty of time. And the last project that I have been working on is a cropped t-shirt. I always want to say sweater, but like it's not. It's got short sleeves. Is it still a sweater? Don't really know. But this is the Cali by Pip and Pin. And I have just barely started. And the yarn is Explorer Knits. This is why I couldn't remember the name, because I kept getting them confused. But this is the Glacier National Park colorway. So I had 2 skeins of this yarn from a D-stash. I have made another short sleeve tee out of 2 skeins of fingering weight yarn, so I knew when I had the 2 skeins that I could do like a 2 skein shawl or or a short-sleeved sweater. So Pip and Pin, I believe the designer's name is Megan. They host, every summer they'll host a summer knit-along where you can knit any of their like summer tops. They have several short-sleeve t-shirts and tunics and sweaters and such. And so you can knit any of them as part of the knit-along. And I haven't done it before, but I've seen them, and I like a lot of their patterns. But then a couple of my knitting friends from the Young Knitters Zoom nights that Emma of Bloom and Create hosts were also going to be knitting this top. So I decided to join them, since I don't have a lot of more summery tops. And in Maine, I don't have to, like, I always think about knitting linen or cotton tops, but I don't really like working with linen and cotton, and our summers are so relatively short that it's not really worth it to me. But I could definitely wear a wool top either like in the evenings or cooler days in the summer, or just like in May. It's still pretty cool, so I could wear it like in the spring, early fall. So the construction is, you have this lace section at the top, and then the rest of the body is stockinette stitch. So you do the front piece, and then I believe I pick up stitches and start knitting the back piece, leaving like a hole for the neck, and then you'll pick up stitches here and work the lace section of the back flat, and then join and knit in the round. And this doesn't have separate sleeves. You have enough stitches that it will kind of do a little bit of a short sleeve, like a cap sleeve, from the front and back lace sections. So I am very excited about this. It took me, the lace rows took longer, and I just had to make sure I was paying attention so that I wasn't messing up the stitch pattern. So it took me a little while to get through the lace, but I'm finally done the lace now. And in case the crop version is not your style, they also have a very similar, they kind of have a set of three, where the Cala is a cropped short sleeve version. There's a longer, like regular sweater t-shirt length for the second version, and then there's a third version that is a tunic. So if you don't want the cropped version, you can buy the patterns individually or as a collection. I bought it as a collection just in case I changed my mind and wanted to add length. I could just switch over and follow the pattern for the regular tee. I may have enough yarn left for that. So you can buy all three together, or you can buy them separately. So yeah, I feel like I haven't talked as long today, but there's been like, my phone has rung a couple of times while I'm sitting here. So I don't really know. I do feel like I've moved through everything quickly, but I'm not used to recording so soon after I have recorded, so I feel like I don't have as much to talk about, because I've already talked about some of these things before. So the other thing that I am working on is some sewing. I haven't sewn anything, but last time I showed the skirt and the apron that I had made, and I talked about how I'd already bought fabric to make a second gypsum skirt by Sew Liberated, and I cut out the pieces for that last night. So I currently have them hanging on some hangers in my room, with the pattern pieces still pinned on them so that I know what everything is. And so I have the pieces cut out for that. I'd like to maybe start working on it this weekend. We will see. We'll see if I get that going. I think one of my hurdles, and I think I talked about this last time with sewing, is just that knitting is very portable. I can stuff it in a bag and bring it anywhere, pack it up, clean it up. It's really easy to pick up and put down. But sewing is a little bit harder if you don't have a dedicated space, which I do not. So it's the kind of thing where if once I start sewing, I'd like to be able to have enough time to get all the way through it, which is what I did with the skirt last time. But I'm hoping that since I already have the pieces cut out, that it'll only take me maybe like an afternoon or a morning to get it sewn, instead of all day. Because I took maybe about an hour and a half or so to cut out the pieces last night. I was listening to an audiobook, so I wasn't really paying attention to how long it took. But I do, for any of you who sew, I think I may have enough fabric. I bought like extra fabric for both the first version of the skirt and for this one. But I think I have enough left over. I have about a yard left of each. And I would like to maybe make some shorts. I may end up just like making like a top or something with 1 yard. But I would like to, I have never made pants. So maybe I should start out, I talked last time about possibly making a pair of pajama pants as my first pair of pants. But then I would also like to maybe make some linen shorts. So if you have any pattern suggestions or designers suggestions for like easy beginner short patterns, I'm all ears. Because I have enough left, it's not scraps, like I have about a yard left, I think. I didn't measure it, but it's like longer than, goes from like my fingertip to like here. So that's, I don't know, close to 3 feet. So who knows how much I can actually measure if I actually start looking at patterns. But if you have any ideas for short patterns, let me know. This is the part of the video where you realize how much I talk with my hands because I'm no longer holding my knitting. So I'm doing a lot of hand talking. It's just how it goes. So I have not sewn, but I have at least made a step towards cutting. And actually, when I knew I'd have some time this weekend to record a podcast and possibly also to sew, that was actually kind of motivating for me to actually cut out the fabrics, as I talked about doing that last time. And I probably recorded that video about a month ago, so I was like, okay, if I cut it, then I can say in the video that I haven't made it, but I did cut the fabric. So I did get those cut. So yeah, that is pretty much, there's a lot of traffic right now. I apologize. I've tried to pause when I've heard loud vehicles coming, but sometimes I don't notice. So yes, so I think that's all. I feel like this might be my shortest episode ever. I'm going to say that and it's going to be like 2 hours long. Who knows? Who knows? But yeah, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for hanging out with me in the yard, even when there's chaos happening around me. So I hope that wherever you are, whatever you're doing, that you're able to find some time to do something creative, to do some making. So until I see you next time, happy making. Bye.
I see trees of green, red roses too. I see